All right. Hello, social media friends. Regardless of which social platform you're watching this from, whether it be our actual live stream or if you're watching this, listening to this as an on-demand recording, welcome to tonight's first and primo episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook. And before I bring in my co-host to join me, let's make sure that you're in the right place. For those of you who may be watching us, listening to this, why? Because I'll lean in and say this. In this day and age, no one really enjoys reading stuff too much. Fact number one. Fact number two, we're all voyeuristic. We love watching people watching. So with that said, welcome to tonight's first episode. We're going to have fun with you, consuming some of this information that we are glad to share with you. And so for those of you who either live in Bolingbrook, near Bolingbrook, or who plan to come and live in Bolingbrook, welcome. So with all of that said, let me bring in my co-host, Greg, into the room so that I'm not doing this just by myself. Hello, Greg.
Hey, everybody. How are you? How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So
this is exciting.
I know it is exciting. The first episode, right?
Yeah.
The first date, the first car, and guess what? The first home. It's always exciting.
Yes.
You always remember that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So with all of that said, let me start off and welcome all of you. For those of you that already know Greg and don't know me yet, well, hey, my name is Bill. I'm co-hosting this, tag teaming with Greg, so that together we can share with you information that matters to you. Along the way, I'm going to say this, we'll probably entertain you. And third, we will share with you information that you probably will not get anywhere else that has to do with real living in or near Bolingbrook. So for those of you that know me but don't know Greg, well, hey, we're going to change that. Why? Because Greg is a new friend that I met through a mutual connection. And the story behind that was this. Greg shared with me this thing that he's been doing. And when I heard that, I said to Greg, Greg, what if I can fast track you into the 21st, 22nd century? And so Greg leaned in. I'm like, I like the sound of that. And then I said to Greg, what if you didn't have to write a bunch of stuff and the information is just out there forever, 24/7? He obviously, like you're seeing him, nodded his head. And then I said to Greg, I said, here's the fun part. I don't know about you, Greg, but I don't always enjoy reading stuff. Why? Because we live in such a fast-paced world these days. So what do? Like many of you, you're probably sitting on the sofa, you're watching some show, sports or whatever, but then you got your phone in front of you. So the idea that I shared with Greg to help him, but really it's to help you, is we're going to share information with you that you can either watch, listen, you can stop, replay, fast forward, so that it's all about giving you the information that you want in the way that you want it. Okay? So with all of that said, let's get Greg warmed up with his mojo. And again, for those of you that already know Greg, here's what I'm about to say. You already know he's a real estate broker for many years. He knows the inwards, outwards of Bolingbrook, that part of the suburbs of Chicago. And so we're going to get Greg warmed up with him working as Mojo. Greg, what is
Yeah.
going on with the real estate market?
Thank you. Yeah, so I've been an agent for about 20 years. And before that, I was in the mortgage industry. So I've been through the whole 2008 crash when that was going down and foreclosures and short sales were prevalent. And some of what we're going to talk about today actually is kind of feeding off of what happened in 2008 of what's going on in the real estate market. So everybody knows that, you know, if you ask anybody, they'll say the real estate market right now is really good. I mean, houses are selling really fast and it's great for the seller. Is in terms of from the real estate perspective, I would much rather be like in just a regular market than to be in one of these kind of, you know, dips or valleys that we're kind of experiencing now. So what we have now, go back to the other slide, the one for homes for sale in Bolingbrook. I want to show that real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the other slide there. Yeah, that one right there. So this is going all the way back to 2008. And here you can see in 2008, we had 693 homes on the market.
Wow.
All the way down to today, which is 66 available homes on the market.
Wow.
It's a dramatic swing. So we just don't have the inventory right now. There's really very little available. And a lot of the homes that are available that's represented in that 66 number is either new construction. So a lot of that's new construction, or a lot of it is inventory that isn't ideal. You know, if you have a home that is going to be hard to sell, you know, you're backing up to a sewage treatment plant, now's the time to put it on the market because there's just no inventory and you might be able to sell it. So some of the inventory is not necessarily ideal, and then some of it is new construction.
Right.
So very little, very few homes that are on the market. It used to be that I would take out a buyer and we would look at 10 or 15 homes in the day and kind of be able to pick, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to write an offer on this one or this one? In today's environment, if I have a buyer, a house comes on the market this morning and we're out in the afternoon to take a look at that one home. And when we get to the home, we find out that there's already multiple offers. I just listed a home in Somerfield subdivision here in Bolingbrook. Within 2 days, we had 8 offers. All the offer, and we went on the top end of the value range, which is something that I'll talk about in a second. But we had 8 offers. All of the offers were well above the list price. And that's just how the market is today. That's how crazy it is. And one of the reasons why, and there's a bunch of reasons why we're in this kind of strange market. If you can go to the one that has a population. Yeah, that one right there. So here, if you see back in 2008, where the inventory levels, which is the blue line, the inventory levels are very high. And that's because everybody was going into foreclosure and giving their homes back to the bank. So the inventory levels were extremely high. What that did is it stopped new construction from happening. The builders were even going out of business. Newman Builders, you know, they were pretty big around here. They had a whole subdivision in North Aurora, and they actually went out of business. They stopped producing homes because they just couldn't compete with the homes that we were already having on the market. The other line, if you look at that one that goes straight up, that's population. So population is still going up and there's no inventory. So that's one of the reasons why we're in this crazy market. Of course, the other reason is, you know, a lot of people that are sitting in these homes, they have a 3 or 4% interest rate. And if they're going to sell their home and buy another home, they're going to go into a higher interest rate. And it's also difficult for them to be able to find a home. So a lot of people are just kind of sitting tight and the homes are not coming on the market. Just FYI, I saw Fannie Mae today gave their predictions for interest, and you might have seen this being in the mortgage business. They gave their quarterly predictions of the interest rates and where they're going to go. And at the end of Q1, I want to say it's at 6.9%. But in Q4, we're back into the 5% market and at the high 5 interest rates.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to help out. But we'll talk. I'll talk about that in a minute as far as what you should do in terms of buying or selling. But the market is definitely it's a crazy market. If you're planning on selling to move to Tennessee, that's perfect. You can buy a house down there and sell for a pretty high rate. I don't know though where the market's going. Nobody knows. It's kind of like predicting the stock market, right? Well, I think the stock market's going to go down. They've been saying that for years. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Right. I completely agree with you, Greg. I remember, after the 2008 bust of the real estate bubble, one backstory reason as to why people stopped building, both national tract builders and also even semi-custom builders, is because with all of the flood of distressed properties, a lot of the banks and lenders that were commercially lending to builders, they stopped. And I'll tell you why I think they stopped. It's because of fear. Mm-hmm. It's the fear that if these national builders, semi-custom builders, if they're able to build nice homes, and don't get me wrong, they still do build nice homes. The fear was who's going to buy them, right?
Right.
And so we're now caught behind this 8 ball, like you said, where there's not enough good homes for sale. And so, audience members, as you're watching this, listening to tonight's episode, I think, like Greg said, if you have a reason to sell, it's a great time for you to move.
Yeah, right.
Because you can get top dollar, probably more dollars than you could have before. And I will say this. I'm going to challenge those of you watching this that is about to lean in and say virtually to Greg and myself, well, Bill, Greg, I've got this low rate mortgage. I'm going to say this to you because I can. Who cares? It's still debt that you're carrying. What if, with Greg's help, you can sell your not so great home and you know it, you want to move to the next chapter, and you can walk away with 75 G's, 100 G's, more than you could before. That's income. That's profit. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen.
And if I could say something to that, and I agree with that. I get people all the time that will ask, well, interest rates might be coming down, so I'm going to wait. Or, the values are going to come down, so I'm going to wait. You can't guess the market.
No.
If the interest rates go down to 5%, you're going to be standing in lines to get into homes, and those values are going to skyrocket. I would much rather buy, if I were a buyer, if I can afford it, I would buy when the interest rates are super high, hopefully 12%, because then the values will come down. But then over the next, year or two, when the rates come back down, you just refinance it. I always tell people that want to know if they should buy or sell. Set interest rates and house values to the side. Set them aside because you're never going to guess that. Do what you want to do for you and your family. So if you're living in an apartment and you just had a baby and you would like a fenced-in yard with a dog, if you can afford it, buy a home. Don't worry about what's going to happen with the rates or the values, because if the values do go down over the next couple of years, so what? You're not going to sell your house anyway. You're going to be in there for 5 or 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
If the interest rates come down, just refinance it. And if they go up, you're going to be glad that you bought when the rates were low. And I know that's kind of hard because just a few years ago, I was telling people, I'm like, I think we're sitting on a bubble. This thing's going to pop. The values are going to come down. And I'm glad that I didn't say that to anybody. I just kind of kept it to myself because here we are. The values just keep going up. So I think it's important for people as they're trying to decide what to do, follow what you want to do for you and your family, set the rates and the values aside, and just move on with your life, because the market's going to keep going like this. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's so very true. You know, people buy and sell real estate because of life events. Life happens. You know, there's no best time to do something. And as the old Nike slogan is obvious, you know, just do it. Just do it. Yeah. So before we move into the rest of our conversation still about real estate, for those of you who are watching us tonight as a live stream or as an on-demand recording, I'm going to challenge you, audience members, social media friends to Greg and or myself. If you know how Bolingbrook got its name and when it started, drop a comment onto social media. Doesn't matter what platform, because we're live streaming across you know, the two primary platforms. Drop your comment, give us the answer, and Greg and myself will reward you for audience participation with us with a nice gift card to something I'm sure you will benefit from.
Except
so
you can't Google it. You gotta know it.
You gotta know it. That's true. Well, and here's the key. Here's the key. You got to drop your comment with your right answer before our next episode, and I'll share with you as we wrap up tonight's conversation when the next episode is going to drop. So let's continue with the conversation around life events where real estate is the cornerstone of it. So Greg, what must people do who have been thinking about selling their home? What's the top 2 to 3 things they must do before they commit to the right broker?
I'll give you some tips, but before I wanted to share this with you. So we're coming up to the summer months here. You know, spring's coming around the corner.
Yep.
There's food trucks all around here that I didn't really even know about.
Oh wow.
So what I plan on doing, this is just something on the side, kind of fun, is I'm gonna map them out on where they all are, and on a certain day, I'm going to go and do reviews, videos on the different food trucks, which I thought was pretty cool, because I never realized that there were so many around here, and they all look awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, it'd be something kind of fun to do. But to getting back to what people should do, I'm going to give you a tip, if you don't mind, rather. So everyone knows that we're in a seller's market. You know, the prices are really high. What I'm seeing as a mistake by some people that list their home is, because the market is going so well, they're overpricing or want to overprice their home. And that is one of the worst things that I think that you can do when listing your home. So if your value range of your home is between 480 and 500,000, they're saying, hey, the market's really hot, let's go 515. Okay. And that is like the worst thing that you can do. What you want to do is price it, if you can, on the higher range of your value range, but let the market drive the price up. Because if you go too high, what's going to happen is you're not going to get a quarter of the showings that you would have gotten if you just priced the home out in its value range. Yeah. So when you price it on the value range, then everybody comes. Then you start seeing the multiple offers, and you start seeing that price go up higher. You know, highest and best offer by, you know, this such and such a date, and they start going higher and higher, and then you can pick through the best offer. And the best offer is not always the price. This last one I did, we did not take the highest offer. There were other compensating factors of contracts that we looked at when determining what deal we wanted to move forward with. So keep that in mind. But that's one of the things, that's one of the tips that I would recommend to people when you're listing your home. Just make sure it's in the value range.
Yeah, that makes sense. So as I hear that, Greg, I kind of equated it to this one thing, which is, it's kind of like for all of you Swifties out there. By the way, am I a Swiftie? I do kind of like Taylor Swift. Okay.
Oh, I was wondering what a Swiftie was.
Yeah. But it's kind of like Taylor Swift with her Eras tour concert. She priced the tickets so that her fan base can easily afford it. So same concept. Love that. So if I am a buyer, Greg, whether it be a first-time buyer, a trading up buyer, what advice would you share with me and our audience tonight?
For the buyers. So it's funny because when I take buyers out, one of the first things that I tell them, aside from, don't worry about the prices and the rates, because they're always thinking that, I'm like, just find a house and find a house that works. There's a learning curve when it comes to buyers.
Okay.
And it's something that a lot of times you have to put in 5 or 6 offers before you start kind of getting what's going on.
Sure.
So even with a lot of the advice that I give, telling them what's going on in the market, and when they see a house that's 500 grand and, my dad's a car salesman and he says negotiate and come in at 470, it's like, I'll do whatever you want,
Right.
But this is my advice. And usually by the 4th home that they missed out on, they say, okay, so what do we do? How do we get this house? So you got to go in and you got to be aggressive. So the success that I have with my buyers are usually with the buyers that listen to me. So even if you're not going to listen to me and you're using a different realtor, fine. Listen to what your realtor is recommending that you do if you want to, be able to get the home, because you do have to be aggressive in today's market.
Yeah.
So
you want to be the chosen bride and never constantly be the bridesmaid at the ceremony.
Yes. And when you're writing the contract and you're buying it as is, as is pretty much means as is.
Right.
You don't want to try to negotiate GCFI outlets to be replaced, some funny things like that. So when you buy a home as is, by the way, a lot of people get confused. You still get a home inspection, okay? Right. But it's basically either a thumbs up or a thumbs down, unless there's some major issues. Like, let's say you have some major foundation issues or the furnace isn't kicking on. You can say, hey, I know we're buying it as is. We're going to walk from this deal unless you're able to fix these items, because these are pretty serious items.
Right.
But so
it's health and safety and or major functional issues. So those are always up for discussion. And at the end of the day, I mean, sellers are people too. So when you buyer, first time trading up buyer, when you're being represented by the right team of service providers, and by the way, if right now, tonight, you don't have that right team, Greg and I certainly will step up to the plate to help you. But if you do have the right team, all that we're doing tonight is sharing our experience, our information of value to help you move to the next step. So spot on, Greg. As we wrap up tonight's episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook, a call to action for all of you watching this, consuming this content. As I did a quick search for, who lives in Bolingbrook, who lives near Bolingbrook, and by the way, who may be relocating to Bolingbrook, let me rattle off some of the biggest employers here in this area. Some of them you already know, so let's go. The first one is Amazon. Hey, all of us that buy stuff from Amazon, hey, that's why they exist. Some of the other employers include major hospitals, ATI Physical Therapy. And then the last one that I'll share with you, because, hey, I'm kind of a car guy. I like keeping my cars nice and clean. Greg, you probably have seen this employer. They have blown up over the past 10 years. WeatherTech, right? These are the guys that started their business very small, making, somewhat high-end formats, and they're now doing all kinds of stuff with rubbery stuff.
Yeah.
So for those of you, by the way, who's watching us tonight, who happen to be employed by any one of these employers, our request to you is chime in, throw down your comment and post. Let us know that you are gainfully employed at these wonderful employers. We love to hear from you as well. So as we wrap up, how might you be able to get in touch with Greg or myself? Why? Because Greg knows this, and so do I. Real estate is a team sport. The question we want to ask you, the question you should ask yourself is, do you have the right team servicing and supporting you? And if you do not, you don't have it yet, it's real simple. Simply scan the QR codes that you see here for Greg and myself. We're glad to start a conversation with you. Why? Because when it comes to the business of real estate, if you're ready and you're willing, we're certainly able to help you. So until we see each other in the next episode, 4 weeks out, Greg, do you have something else to drop?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this. So I'm with Epic Realty, which I was the first Illinois Epic Realtor. And this is a company that is absolutely cutting edge in terms of technology and promoting homes. What's cool is you're going to see there's a billboard over on 111 and Napier Plainfield Road.
Okay.
And my advertisement is going to be huge on that billboard real soon, over in the next week. And that's something that's all paid for by Epic Realty, which is really cool. So you might, if you're driving by there, you might see my advertisement pop up.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome. So I'm pretty excited about that. But it's real cutting edge stuff I've never seen before. They're integrating AI with their whole system. So the marketing platform for listing homes is just, it's mind blowing. I still don't have my brain around all the different things that they do, but it's pretty cool.
Cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. This billboard's gonna appear in that area. You can't miss it if it's one of those big billboards. So here's another request and call to action. Do it safely, please. If you happen to see this billboard before our next episode, snap a picture, drop it in your social comment, and I'm going to tease Greg here. I'm sure Greg would love to meet you in person and autograph it for you.
Sounds good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sharing your time with Greg and myself in tonight's first episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook. We are your host. Stay tuned for the next episode that will drop. Same time, same place, live streaming to you 4 weeks from now. All you need to do is just connect with us if you're not already on social platforms, or simply Google search us. Greg's name is so unique. I mean, you can't miss him. My name is kind of unique, unless you misspelled the last name, so you can't miss me too much. So as we wrap up, thank you for tuning in tonight, and we will see you 4 weeks out.
All right. Thanks, guys.